the conscious conversation with Alea. We are going to be having a casual conversation, answering questions, and going deeper into particular concepts. Whenever we are talking about energy, I like to create a safe and sacred space for you to receive the information. This conscious conversation is a little different than the tall cups of consciousness sessions. We're not moving huge, big, deep pieces, clearing, shifting, recalibrating, but there is an energetic exchange. I'm sending information to you. Your guides might be sending information to you. You're extracting only that which you need and bringing it in for you in your own unique way. So we invite you just to take a few deep breaths, to bring your awareness into this present breath. This present breath of now. When we call forth the Ascended Masters, the beings of love and light, your spiritual guides and advisors to encircle you in a higher realm, creating a safe, supported, and protected environment for you as we have this conscious conversation. We invite your higher self, your body, Deva's higher self, to connect to your own healing source, your own spiritual power, to connect with all aspects of your being. We call forth the appropriate sacred geometric healing holograms and mandalas that have the capacity to support you in receiving this information in an empowered, joyful, supported way. We ask that these intentions are held in the energetic fields. So we are going to be diving into questions and comments, and I have a lovely list of things that we can be speaking to tonight in the conscious conversation. The first question is, I've been dreaming about relatives on the other side. The dreams are so real that I wake up feeling like I've been with them for real. These dreams feel different. Are they? When I think about our dream time, what we are doing is we are taking our awareness out of the physical dimension, obviously, because we're going to sleep, and we're bringing our awareness into another dimension that is just as real as the physical one. And so when you have really vivid or intense dreams, what you're doing is you're tapping into another dimension, you're exchanging information, you might even be literally having an empathic dream of another. So, for example, if I have 4 sessions tomorrow, I might have 2 of those people's dreams tonight. So I am literally dreaming their dream. Some people call that shamanic dreaming, walking in their shoes, feeling what they're feeling, looking at what they're drawing to them, how they're reacting and responding, their belief systems, behaviors, the fears, the challenges, the anger, so that when I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what's going on for that person and then know how to help them. And so when you do have dreams of relatives on the other side, you might actually be meeting on a floor where they, your relatives on the other side, loved ones, your pets, might be meeting you, exchanging information, and having connection time. Or they might be in their debrief. So let's say Uncle Harry died, he's on the other side now, and he's in his debrief room. The debrief room is a space where angelic guides and advisors encircle a soul that is ready to reflect upon their most recent incarnation, activate the vibrations of their spiritual lesson, reflect upon every single moment they had when they were here in this world. And so as Uncle Harry is unpacking all of those pieces in his debrief, he might be sending you information, or he might be trying to heal moments between you and he, or there might be a missing or a love or a grace or a gratitude. And so allowing for that exchange. If those dreams are upsetting with people who are on the other side, meaning they have died, then what you would want to do is you would want to invite your higher self, your body, Deva's higher self, your team, to return any fragments that you might be holding of them, have them return any fragments that they might be holding that are yours, your body or your team, to send them whatever energetic information you might have, to receive any information they might have for you, to return any responsibility that you might be holding for them, and invite them to return any responsibility they might be holding for you. to also lift all of your attachment and your desire off of that individual. Sometimes we want people to be in integrity, or we want them to be happy, or we want them to cultivate greater love or greater connection or greater empowerment or gentleness or grace. And we really don't want to be attached to other people's reality. And this is so counterintuitive in most of the societies that we grow up in. We think that we should want for other people's happiness, but that is actually the very first step of being out of energetic integrity, taking responsibility for something that's not yours, stealing, which then triggers high levels of empathic sensitivity, and then you start processing their karma. So again, lifting all of your attachment and your desire off of this individual and letting them be attached and desiring for their own reality, whatever that might be. So there's several steps that you would go through when you are dreaming about somebody who has died, who is on the other side, on another floor. They still exist. They're just in their light body, and they're still having a spiritual growth, evolution process, but just on a higher floor. Great question. The next question that I am going to speak to is how to deal with body imbalances like sleep patterns or unbalanced hormones or particular pathology. And a lot of the time, it was interesting. I was thinking about this question before the conscious conversation, and I heard my guide say that so often we don't just let our body iron out a kink. We get really worried that something is terribly, terribly wrong. And then we just put the worry on that body part, fretting about it, trying to fix it instead of letting the body deva nature spirit use its higher self, its energetic fields, its etheric body to heal it and iron out the kink. And if something is going on for 2 or 3 days, I mean, this really depends on how tuned in you are to your body. It's a process, how aware you are. But if you're pretty tapped in and you're listening to your body and something appears, give your body 2 or 3 days or a week to iron out the kink, to use its higher self, to use its energetic fields, to heal it, clear it, balance it, adjust the diet, see if it changes. If it doesn't change, take the next action to help the body in its healing process. Maybe herbs or acupuncture, chiropractic, or lymphatic massage. If it doesn't shift with that within a week or two, meaning starting to show improvements, then take more drastic measures. And again, the more you are in touch with the light that flows within you, your divine line, it's like you, the soul rider, the more in touch your body, Deva, will be with itself. As your body is tapped into itself, it's then going to have greater discernment about what vibrations, energies, supplements, food, sleep, napping, exercise, modalities that it needs to employ to help it come back into a place of balance. So instead of going right away to worry, invite your body, diva nature spirit at the level of its higher self to work with its etheric body to heal it in a higher realm at the blueprint level, and then reflect that healing down to itself here in the physical realm. A lot of the times the body is struggling with a particular issue or challenge, and it's trying to process energy that maybe belongs to you or to somebody else. And so the very first protocol you could do when you have body deva imbalances is invite your body deva to energetically locate any layers of energy, any issues that it's holding that do not belong to your body, and to have your body deva use its higher self to return those issues back to its right and perfect place. Anytime we, meaning you, the soul rider, your body or your team, empathically feel something, that is the indicator that you have information for whomever you're feeling. So the key piece with empathic sensitivity is to send that energetic information to them at the level of their higher selves where they have the capacity to receive it. That might be in the future, it might be in the past, your higher self knows. And then invite, you might not consciously know what it is, but invite your higher self, your body, David's higher self and team to model the solution to whomever you were empathically feeling. And then the next step is to hold compassion. You just walked a mile in their shoes. You know the pain and the suffering that they are in. They don't have the tools. hold a compassionate, non-judging, non-fixing, safe, loving space for them to be in whatever they're in while you model the solution. It's taken me almost a decade to distill the clearing empathic sensitivity, clearing issues that do not belong to you, down into a 4-step process. So I invite you to use it, see if it works for you. There might be another piece that you need to bring in. Really honor your own intuition in that experience. The other piece with sleep is if you're lying in bed, let's say you can't fall asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't fall back asleep, invite your higher self, your body, David's higher self, and your team to work with your energy fields to locate whatever dimensions you are holding your awareness. Where are you working? What are you doing on the higher floors that could possibly be waking you up or keeping you awake? So when you hold your awareness in your divine line and you invite your higher self, your body, David's higher self, and team to scan all of those dimensions where you might be having a party, working really, really, really hard, invite that energetic aspect of you to finish that job on that floor. Always bring in support. Have beings of love and light helping you. Get an angelic crew. Don't do the heavy lifting. And then once you sense that your work is complete, again, it's going to be beyond the words. It's going to be more of a feeling sense or your imagination, like I'm working really hard, doing all that work up there, calibrating the grids, balancing, stabilizing, infusing light, stabilizing, harmonizing, and done. Now we're going to bring the energy out of that floor. I'm done with the job for now. Body, Deva, and team, clear out. Bring all awareness back to the appropriate dimension that supports a restful sleep. So often we can't sleep because we're working overtime in the higher realms. But when you're conscious of the work that you're doing in the higher realms in a non-mental way, it's just like you're sensing, you're inviting your higher self to locate it, and you hold conscious awareness of getting the task done, whatever it might be, it happens 1,000 times more efficiently. You'll finish in 2 seconds or 30 seconds instead of having to take 6 hours of tossing and turning to finish the job. So really start being aware that these other dimensions where you do express yourself is impacting your physical experience. There was one client that I worked with a few years ago who kept getting psychically attacked, or not psychically attacked, but attacked by people in their life. Their employer would attack them, their friends would attack them, their partner verbally. It was not like they weren't being beaten. Well, she did get kicked once. Anyhow, I invited this client to pull all of their energy out of the dimension where they were being a warrior and fighting. And as soon as they stopped being the warrior and fighting in the higher realms, their physical experience started to get 1,000 times more peaceful. So the more we recognize that what we're doing in the higher realms does have an impact in the physical realm, we start consciously, energetically adjusting our energy in those higher realms. It starts then positively impacting our physical experience. So if you're lying in bed at night, check in. What are you doing on the other floors? Finish it up, simmer down, redivert all of your energy back down to your divine line. Same for your body, Deva, and team. And then hold a space for your body, Deva, to deeply rest. And then you might want to invite your higher self and your team to create a force field of protection around your body, or your body, Deva's team, can create a force field of protection around it. And you could go sleep on another planet, on a higher floor. You could rest. You could have spa time. Somebody asked in the questions if I would be willing to share my galactic backstory. And so I'm coming out of the closet just a tiny little bit, but from my memory of, I had an enlightenment experience in 2001. And in that moment, I had memory of previous incarnations and what I was doing before I got here into this world, and all of the prep and all of the training for this current incarnation. And I recall that I existed in a light form on the planet Sirius, and with the dolphins and the whales, and there's a temple. And so, being a conscious, multi-dimensional being, I'm actually holding a little bit of my energy on Sirius in a temple in deep meditation, very, very zen, totally protected, and can then tap into that other dimensional reality and reflect it down to myself here. Now, this might be a little out there for some of you, but just imagine a higher floor where you are deeply rested, where you are very peaceful, you're completely supported and protected and safe. That energy that you are energetically and consciously connecting with in a higher realm starts to ripple and reflect into this one, positively impacting your energetic fields. Your body is also a multi-dimensional being. Yes, it expresses itself in the physical dimension, right? There's density, but it also has access to higher planes. And so the more the body awakens, the more it can tap into a higher dimension where its etheric body exists, which are those blueprints. It can tap into healing dimensions or healing floors of the heart of Earth and gather more support, energetic information that can help it in its own awakening process. There's another question. I'm going to segue into another one, getting stuck. And the experience of being stuck leads to self-blame loop, which brings the energy down, leading to more stuckness. How do I get out of the self-blame and the being stuck? And this can be a very challenging energy, but a lot of the times when we're in a particular energy, there's two aspects that I'm going to speak to. When you're in a particular energy like being stuck, either it's not yours, meaning you picked up the being stuck from someone else and you're trying to shift it for them. You might have picked it up at 2 or in the womb. Invite your higher self, body, Davis higher self, to send it back, and your team to send it back to whomever it belongs to, along with the appropriate energetic information. And then bring all of your gifts, wisdom, and mastery for healing, shifting that challenge back to yourself and off of them. The other factor or aspect that could be going on is that in the being stuck, there is a stillness, right? There's no movement. You can get frustrated with it, but if we surrender into the stuck, there's also a groundedness. There can be a level of empowerment and presence, a gravitas, a grace, a power. And so what might be happening at an energetic level is your higher self, body, Davis higher self, and team are literally activating this stuck cycle, trying to cultivate a deeper level of grounding and empowerment. Okay, instead of fighting the stuck, go into it, invite your higher self, body, Davis higher self, and team to activate that vibration of empowerment, of grounding, of centeredness, of stillness, and you just milk it up. You literally transform, using your higher self, your energy fields, the stuck into the activation of the spiritual lesson of what you are truly intending on embodying. And as soon as you do that, then the energy starts to flow. So you might be holding a little bit of stuck from somebody else, but if you are holding the stuck from somebody else, it might be because you do want to cultivate a deeper level of empowerment. Then instead of using the stuck, you can just simply activate empowerment or grounding or whatever it is. Or you can redirect the stuck, it's just energy, into the activation of that vibration that you are truly intending on embodying. And not to be super, super simple, but being super, super simple. All of us in this experience are attempting to attain very particular vibrations and qualities in our divine line. And so we will have the body engage in particular behavior. We will create situations in our outer world that exposes us to an energetic current to help us attain that vibration quality in the divine line. As soon as you identify what that quality is, then you can start taking personal responsibility for activating that vibration in the divine line instead of having to employ the outer world to do it. The finances, for example, let's say we don't have enough money, we're in this place of lack and fear, and how am I going to be supported, and what are we going to do? Well, that's actually all about support. And we are in a very interesting time right now where this old support grid that is codependent and not sustainable is literally crumbling. Yay! It's crumbling away. But the problem and the challenge, not really a problem, the challenge is that all of our energy has been on this codependent grid, this disempowered victim way of being. And so as we feel this grid falling away, we start to freak out, and then our finances start to be impacted, or our physical health is impacted, or our relationships, everything that supported us in the outer world starts to fall away. And so what we want to do is we want to lift all of our reference points where we go to find support off of that codependent grid, off of those relationships, off of money, off of your body, and back to your divine line. Finding your support in this inner river, that is so key. And as soon as I figured that out, I think it was like in 2006, my finances started to slowly turn around. Now I'll still have an empathic waves or pieces that come up around it, but I don't go into the fear the way I used to. So every single day, if you're having financial struggle or support issues, invite your higher self, your body, David's higher self, and team to lift all of your reference points for support, all of the places that you go for support off of everyone and everything, and start finding your support in direct connection with the light that flows within you. And then the magic part, where you do take a deep breath in. You do hold your awareness in this inner river. You do feel how the support that flows within you, how the light that flows within you supports you. It is a 20-second, 2-minute practice. And I've mentioned this before in Tall Cups, but a very wise thing my guides said to me one day. They said, Alea, even if the outer world doesn't change and you don't get what you want, doing this inner practice of finding your support deep in your core, is that going to feel better than being in a state of fear? Absolutely. Now, do I still work hard? Absolutely. Do I still engage my passion and my creativity? Absolutely. Because the higher the light, the more joyful I am, the more I am being supported by my own light, the more the world reflects that to me. So for you, even if you're not doing anything in the outer world that is joyful or feels supportive, start finding inside yourself where there is this beautiful light that flows, that is your primary support. Then invite your body, Deva, nature spirit, to find its support in its divine line. Invite your team to find their support in their divine lines. And I'm just going back to that first question, or that second question about the shame loop, redirecting it and riding it. Because if you go into the stuck, right, and then you start judging the stuck, and then you get more stuck, and then you go into the shame, that just keeps pushing you deeper and deeper and deeper. And so some part of you wants to go deep, deep inside and connect with a light that is flowing. There's the answer. We do the opposite of what we're intending on mastering until we reach a certain level of consciousness, awareness, or pain, or intolerance, and we then begin to practice what we wish to master. So instead of wanting the outer world to flow, invite your higher self, body, Diva's higher self, and team to activate the vibration of flow just in your divine line. That's it. In the divine line of your body, Deva. In the divine line of your team. Invite your guides and advisors, spiritual family, ascended masters of love and light to encircle you and hold the vibration of flow in their divine lines, positively, empathically impacting you. So really use that tool of the flip it. What's the opposite? What's the solution to the challenge that I'm in? I talk about that in chapter 4 of the book 7 Cups of Consciousness that I wrote and was released by New World in 2015. So I invite you to check out that book. It is loaded with little pearls. There is another question about speaking to setting up boundaries with children and narcissists. Setting up boundaries with children. Well, there's two aspects. You will have a boundary for yourself, and then creating boundaries for them. I actually think the most loving thing that we can do for the children in our life, especially if you're a parent, because that's really your role, is to set the boundary, is to create a boundary, to create house rules that are supportive and loving. And depending on the age of the child, if the child is like 6 or 7 or 8, you could sit down at the table one evening with no media on, no TV, no music. You just totally go into the zone, and you have a big piece of paper. And this is actually really great for couples as well, or if you're living with people. And you write down all of the energies, the qualities that you want in the home, in the living experience. Happiness, freedom, joy, respect, peace, connection, calm. And so in the inner circle, you've got all of these qualities of what you want to create for your life and what house you want to live in, or rather, what are the qualities that are in the home, and the child gets to also partake. And then in a secondary circle, or in a different section of the paper, you start writing down things, behavior that supports those intentions. And so and then you put it somewhere where everybody is seeing it every single day, and everybody is responsible for being in alignment with these intentions that you all agreed upon. So that is one little strategy you could employ for conscious conversation. But if a child is very young, or even, in their 7, 8, 15-year-old, you kind of out of the zone of, you can discipline, but you ideally want to be disciplining from 1.5 to 10. And in this incarnation, I am not currently a physical parent, but there have been many, many lifetimes where I have been a parent and have learned the hard way and the easy way. But essentially, creating boundaries that create safety, support, protection, appropriate follow through, not that is cruel, reflective listening, really honoring the needs and helping the child meet their own needs in a healthy, supportive way. This is a huge, deep topic that we could go into, but it's your responsibility to create a boundary for a child that creates a supportive, loving environment. The child is not responsible for honoring your boundaries. That's your job. And really, in truth, everyone, including the narcissist, no one is responsible for honoring your boundaries. That is completely your job. And so if you start taking appropriate action to honor your own boundaries, recognizing that it's no one else's job to honor your boundaries and you honor your boundaries, you'll start creating situations that honor you because you're taking that stance. With a narcissist, they're actually not going to have the capacity to honor your boundaries. So you'll have to say to them, let's say you have a friend who's a narcissist, and you say, I can go for a walk with you at 3 o'clock for 45 minutes at this location. And if that works for you, great. And if it doesn't, we can set another time. And so you figure out what works for you and then extend yourself in a way that honors you. And if they appear, they appear. And if they don't, they don't. And if they are notoriously late, you would say, I will wait for 10 minutes, but then I'm going to go on this path and you can catch up with me if you can, if you arrive in time. But I'm going to go. And so do it gently, do it slowly, start feeling into it of honoring your own boundaries, figuring out what works for you, and then holding a container for somebody to show up. And if they don't, it's not their job to. And then maybe being more discerning about your relationships. There are a few people in my life who really couldn't honor my boundaries. Not that it was their job, but I just decided that I wanted to use my energy elsewhere. And so I gently extracted myself from those relationships. And that is the choice that we all have of who do we choose to interact and engage with. But the very first step is to interact and engage with yourself, honor your own boundaries, and you will draw to you people that are the reflection of your internal reality. There's another question about connecting with animals and our pets' higher selves. Is it the same place when we meet the other person's higher self? Yes. And from my perspective, like a dog or cat or a horse or an elephant, you would be connecting with the rider at the level of their higher self. And then you could also be connecting with the nature spirit, the dog nature spirit or the cat nature spirit at the level of its higher self. A lot of the times our pets have a consciousness, an awareness, a presence that has a depth to it that is beyond, that not beyond nature, but in addition to nature. It's this other soul having an experience in an animal body. And so when you are connecting with that soul in the animal body, I invite you to recognize that there's two aspects. We've got the nature spirit, dog, and then the soul that's riding in the dog. When animals are abused, that soul that's riding in the body usually is not very present. And the more an animal is loved, the more the soul that's riding in that animal spirit comes into an awakened way of being. Just like if you're in a relationship with somebody who deeply sees your essence, you are going to come more into that place of your essence and connect from that place because they're holding that container. So it can be an incredible service that we can do with the animals that are in our life and the souls that are riding in those animals. There's another question about unusually fatigued and wanting to go to sleep a lot. When I'm really, really tired, I immediately go, what am I doing up high? Ooh, I must be working really hard. Okay, I'm just going to chill out in the physical dimension and I'm going to crank it out up high. And then holding the conscious awareness that some part of us is on a higher floor working, we can then employ guides, angels, a whole crew of beings of love and light to help us in that higher realm where we're doing the work, again, beyond the mind. A lot of the times the work that we're doing up high is beyond the mind so that the ego doesn't get involved. As soon as you go into the ego, you're now disconnecting from your own divine connection, and it makes the work that you're doing in the higher realms far less effective. So let it be non-mental and more imaginative, and stay out of, feel the passion more, feel the joy, the excitement, the freedom, the expansion of what you're doing up high. Maybe it's really detail oriented. A lot of the times what it is that we do in the higher realms is reflective of what we're doing in the physical dimension. So for me, I send information, I relay information, I model right energy. I could be a UPS driver. In the higher realms, I'm sending information. I'm an angelic UPS driver or delivery person. So it keeps one humble. And then there's also this joy and this grace and this ease. I do a little more than sending information, but you get the point. So allow yourself to explore it with a sense of humor. There's another question about letting go of the divine line. Well, you're not really let go of the divine line, but dying consciously. And if you're not ready to die right now in this very moment, then you wouldn't want to do this. But when we die consciously, what we really want to do is we want to have a level of capacity for coming into the divine line. So in those daily meditations that I do, every single meditation is all about coming into your divine line. That's like step one. So that at the time of your departure, where you leave Earth and go to a higher realm, you've been practicing coming into your divine line so that you have control of your divine line. But if you're not in your divine line, then you can't control your divine line. So at the time of departure, you would bring all of your awareness into your divine line. And then, don't do this energetically. And I'll do a little fix at the end after telling you this. Because you have control of your divine line, because you've been practicing for years or months or a few days, depending, you would then invite your higher self to evenly, gently lift your divine line off the front of the spine. If you lift it off at the head first or at the lower chakras, right, the like lower spine, then you'll lose your mental capacity if you lift it off up here. You'll lose bladder function, leg function, muscle function lower down. If you bubble it at the heart chakra, you'll have a heart attack. When we want the body to be healthy and strong, and we want to ride in the body, if you're in the physical dimension, I invite you to just let go of the resistance. You already made the trip, you're already in. And until you're ready to leave this world, firmly attach your divine line evenly up and down the front of the spine. The more evenly attached it is, no bubbling, no peeling, the healthier the body will be. Because as you attach your divine line to the front of your spine, then that starts to open up the lines of communication that happen between your divine line and your body, David's divine line, that runs through the spinal cord. I've mentioned this before in previous conscious conversations and also in the talk ups, but I was at Duke University like 6 years ago doing a master mediation course. And we went to the cadaver lab because we were studying neuroscience. And they handed us one of the tech guys handed me a spinal cord of a cadaver. And as soon as my body was holding this spinal cord, my body Deva went like that and said, that is where the divine line of the body Deva runs. And then in the next breath, somebody in the cadaver lab was saying that the spinal cord is the one thing in the body that never ages. And so I started pondering that and asking my body Deva, like, why is the spinal cord the one thing in the body that never ages? And she said, she, meaning my body, said, because that's where we hold all of our light. And so then over the years, I said, body, what if you start filling yourself up with your light? Fill up your arms and your legs, and the only place I'm going to be is on the front of the spine. So the more the body infuses its light and owns itself, the aging process slows. Again, when we're in the human body, we want to be firmly attached to the front of the spine until you're ready to leave. Then you would slowly lift, but evenly, no peeling, no bubbling, off the front of the spine, using your higher self, your energy fields. And then invite your body, Deva nature spirit, to also do a debrief in the appropriate location, dimension, space with supportive beings of love and light as you do your debrief so that your body can awaken to a deeper degree. Speaking of dying, somebody wrote a question that they work in ICU, high stress area, where people die suddenly, self-protection while offering support literally and figuratively in their bodies. So when you are witnessing somebody who is passing, you can invite them to evenly lift their divine line off the front of their spine and go to a debrief room where they can activate the vibration of all of their spiritual lessons. If you are around people who are dying in hospice or elderly, you would want to make sure that you are holding your divine line firmly on the front of your spine, because you could be empathically impacted by the people that are bubbling and peeling their divine lines off the front of their spine and starting to disconnect from their experience. And I've actually seen people 15 years before they check out doing the peel off process, the bubble. Some people bubble and peel off like almost their whole life because they resist being in the human experience. They don't want to be here. They think it's dirty, painful, old traumas. And so there's this constant resistance, which then makes the ride even bumpier. So if you have been having a hard, bumpy ride, maybe do a little meditation and bring your breath, bring your awareness into your divine line and use your breath to firmly attach to the front of the spine. In terms of protection, I would just get really attached to the vibration that flows in your divine line, same for your body and team, not be attached to somebody else, and ask guides to help this soul transition. So you're not going to want to follow them because you could get stuck between the window panes. And so keep yourself firmly anchored on the front of your spine. Same for your body in its divine line. You could ask the Ascended Masters of Love and Light to encircle you and create a force field of protection. but the key piece is being more attached to your own vibration than anyone else's. Now, in the beginning, that sounds selfish, but it's the only way for you to hold a strong, coherent field of transformation and be of service in a healthy, sustainable, co-creative way. There's another simple, quick little question, not little, because it's big. The Ascended Masters were one day joking with me, and they're like, "Hey, Leah, how hard is enlightenment?" And I was like, "How hard?" And they went, basically a breath. That's how hard it is. Now, we make it really difficult because we think we have to have our mind into it. But we've got this physical human form that has to breathe. And every time it breathes, it triggers an energetic phenomenon where we pull ourselves into our divine line. The more conscious we are when we are taking a deep breath and using the breath to pull ourselves into our divine line, and then use the exhale to ground and anchor in the divine line, the more potent the process, the connection becomes. So what is the best technique for pulling yourself into your divine line? Like that. But I'm holding my focus not on the outer world, more on my inner world, imagining, sensing, perceiving, however I do, a column, a tube, a channel, a garden hose of light that flows in the body on the front of the spine. So if I took my hand and I pushed it 2 inches, 3 inches in, I would hit the front of my spine. On the front of the spine is a channel, a column. And we, as the soul, want to ride right in there. We want to have our awareness in there, our anchors, our orientation, our control chips in there, not out on the outer world. So maybe once a day, use the inhale like your life depends on it, and pull yourself into your divine line. Imagine it as your oxygen line, and that is the only place that you get oxygen. It's the only place that you're safe. It's the only place that you're connected. It's the only place you're going to be happy. The only place you're going to be full, the only place you're going to be supported is in this inner river. If you knew that all of those things existed in your divine line, you might have a little more zest and zeal and will to pull yourself into that place. So start practicing that. If all of the daily cups and all of the things that I talk about in the tall cups in the book and in my courses just feels like too much, just use the inhale to pull yourself into your divine line. You don't need a meditation or even an energetic protocol for that. Then, once you master that, invite your body, diva, nature, spirit to also use the inhale to pull itself, its awareness, into its divine line that runs through the spine. Then as you're doing it, you can invite your team to also, they don't have the breath because they're not physical human beings. They're not in the physical dimension, but they do have energy fields. And so invite your team to hold their awareness in their divine lines positively, empathically, impacting you and your body, deva. So that's a very simple technique to use to help you cultivate a deeper level of connection with your divine line, which then helps you cultivate a deeper level of connection with your essence, which is that divine and perfect aspect of you. There's another question about how does the magnetic field affect our body? And from my perspective, your body has its own energetic fields that are different than your energy fields. So if I'm from some other world, some other dimension, my light body is going to have a slightly different energetic configuration than the physical body. The soul's energy fields overlap, sort of like an overlay onto the physical human energy fields. But we really want to invite the body, diva, nature, spirit to fill itself up, use its own energetic fields that are separate from ours. And the body, diva, nature, spirit has magnetic grids. It's sort of like the energetic root system of the energetic fields of the physical human form. And so when we invite our body to use those magnetic grids to ground, to manifest, to materialize, to heal, to be supported, and then it starts tapping into that magnetic field and utilizing it in the way in which it knows how. Now, at a conscious level, will you know how your body, deva, nature, spirit is utilizing the magnetic grids? Maybe not. But if you invite your body, deva, nature, spirit to connect with its very own energetic magnetic grids that have the capacity to support it, you'll then have this empathic energetic experience. You'll feel your body tapping into these magnetic grids that can support it, that can assist it in its own process of manifestation. We use the magnetics to manifest, rather the body uses the magnetic grids and how it communicates with the other nature spirits. The body deva also uses the electrical grids as well, but with manifesting and grounding and support and base chakra, it will use the magnetics. And so my body deva nature spirit will tap into the magnetic grids and connect in with the flowers. Say hi, flowers. I would like to touch, feel, be empathically impacted by the essence of the rose. And so using that magnetic grid system, the body deva then empathically feels the rose, the essence of the rose, and is able to be positively, empathically impacted by the energy of other nature spirits. Again, this is a deep one. There could be a whole class on this, which we could ponder doing, but I invite you to start exploring what it feels like when your body starts using its own magnetic grids that are separate from yours. There's another question about sometimes the thought of doing this life or living on Earth over and over again, meaning reincarnating on Earth, seems boring, or even this life, getting up every day, doing what you do. It's like there's no end to the game. And my question is, do we ever reach nirvana? Getting in touch with ourselves from the future as an ascended master. When is this? Will we know when we have ascended? You will definitely know when you've ascended, and it's actually a process. And so if you think about it from the perspective of you're climbing a mountain, and every single breath you take is another step on the mountain. The more conscious you become of your breath, meaning using your breath to pull yourself into your divine line and feel the light that flows within you, the more conscious the journey becomes. The more connected you are to your light, the less suffering, the more joy, absolutely no boredom whatsoever, because you feel this exquisite divine light flowing within you all the time. You're in a state of oneness and love, and then have the capacity to connect with everyone from that place. So every single breath that is conscious propels you further up on the mountain. You're constantly shifting your perception, your view, your lens, your angle. That's one way to think of the evolutionary process. So you really never do anything over and over again. It's always from a different perspective. But when you awaken, you can then start choosing the mechanisms you want to use to spiritually grow and evolve. And as soon as you realize that you are spiritually growing and evolving, you can then pick up different tools. Instead of using the suffering tool or the lack or the abandonment tool, you could start using the deep within connection tool, or the finding flow deep within tool. So again, that awareness, we have to have the awareness in order to choose a different way of being. So cultivate more awareness of the light that flows in your divine line. That will shift your perspective. Then you will have greater choices, more choices of how you ascend. Another analogy that I sometimes use is when we are souls not aware of our divine light. We're at the bottom of the ocean. It's really dark. It's really heavy, right? The pressure, there's very little oxygen. We've got like huge scuba suits, decompression, those compression suits. And talking is like, can't hear very clearly. You certainly can't see the light above you. So that would be a soul who is not very aware of their divine connection. And then as we breathe and we come more into the awareness of our light, we start to go further up. We start to get higher up, what would be the depth. We go into more shallow water. And then at, let's say, 50 feet or 100 feet, let's pretend you could see the light, meaning you can see the other side. You can see the angelic beings, and you might even be able to get little nuggets, little information. Every time you breathe, you are ascending. You are going further and further up. It's less dense, it's less scary, you're more aware, you can see more clearly. So whatever perspective works for you, whether it's the mountain or the ocean and the process of ascending in the depth, be aware that souls that are at the bottom of the ocean, they have density, there's lack of clarity, they can't really hear very well. We're going to have a lot of compassion for them. We're not going to expect them to be able to move really quickly because they're in a full-on compression suit and we're just in a wetsuit or whatever it might be. So no arrogance, total compassion, also remembering that you used to be at the bottom of the ocean. And so looking at your journey more from that gentle, graceful, joyful, aware process makes it an easier ride. There is another question about, it's a little combo, and it's about feeling like a victim, feeling attacked, feeling not safe, being psychically attacked, other dimensions that we might wander into, astral travel. Whenever you travel into another dimension, I invite you to travel in your divine line. Never leave your line. You will be so safe. So step one, if you want to go check out another dimension, pull yourself into your divine line. Don't intentionally start dimensionally traveling before you've cultivated the capacity to pull yourself into your divine line using your inhale, your higher self, your energetic fields. Same for your body and your team. Get that tool down first. Then invite your higher self to energetically locate dimensions that are supportive, empowering, of love and light, and then travel up your divine line or down your divine line to these other dimensions that are of love and light. So you are intentionally choosing to push the button that will take you to the floor that has the capacity to support you in gathering whatever information you need, a little rest reboot, a little download, whatever it is. So start being more conscious of the dimensional travel and never leave the line of light. You will always stay safe. But the other key piece is to only be attached to the vibration flowing in your divine line. After my enlightenment experience in 2001, I was a little bit judgmental of sorcerers and sorceresses that I would come across who were making havoc for people, and I would see it. And then I would get attached to how these sorcerers and sorceresses were using and misusing their power and other people's power. And in that attachment and that desire and that judgment for them to not be in integrity, I wanted them to be in integrity with their power and they weren't. So in that attachment and that judgment, I then put a hand out and I tried to change their behavior. Immediately got a hit. I took the hit. I got psychically attacked. And then I had to do force fields and protection, and it took me 2 or 3 years to figure out why I was getting attacked. Well, it was because I was getting attached and then desiring and then responsible for how that sorcerer or sorceress was using their power. So as soon as I lifted the attachment off of them and I modeled and then only responsible for how I hold my power, then I'm modeling the solution to these sorcerers and sorceresses that exist in other dimensions that are creating havoc. As I'm modeling the solution, the majority of the time they hightailed it, but there were a few that really did want to shift. And so because I was modeling the solution, not doing it for them, they then got positively empathically impacted and started to shift, awaken, and evolve. And so if we start to wander into dimensions that are dark, or if we feel like we're getting psychically attacked, this goes for children as well. What we're really trying to learn is how to be only attached to the vibration that flows within us, only responsible for that vibration. Same goes for the body, Deva. The body needs to learn this as well. Same for the team. We get impacted by the sacred trinity of you, your body, and your team. Getting your energy right in that way will keep you so incredibly protected, and your empathic sensitivity will go way down. When I share this with clients in sessions, sometimes I get a little kickback and I hear, "Oh, that's really hard." And my response is, what's harder? Being psychically attacked and being totally freaked out and being woken up in the middle of the night and terrified that you're going to lose your life force, or pulling all of your attachment, your desire, and responsibility for just the vibration that flows in your divine line back into your own inner river. So I actually think that being scared and being attacked from other beings in other dimensions is scarier and harder than these steps. So I invite you to play around with it. Sometimes we have to work through the layers of well, if I'm not shifting other people. If I don't want for other people, what is the purpose and the meaning of my life? And I invite you to explore the purpose and the meaning of your life as modeling the solution. You are holding a strong, positive, empathic field of transformation impacting at least 100,000 people or more. Is that worth it? That's of purpose from my perspective. So I do repeat this in the daily cups and in the tall cups because it's a key component. And in our society, we've been trained to do the exact opposite. So I'm inviting this small group of people to start holding their energy, start having you hold your energy in a healthier, more co-creative, sustainable way that supports you to a much greater degree and moves you into a series of incarnations from this point forward where you are serving in the most beautiful, powerful, gentle, graceful way. Thank you so much for joining me for this conscious conversation. Please share it with other people if you think they resonate. These are tools that are different. They're out there. But if it speaks to you, enjoy it. Take what works, let go of what doesn't, and many blessings on your journey. Aho. Oh, we ask that you're wrapped in sheets of rainbow light, gently sealing these vibrations in to whatever degree is appropriate for your spiritual evolutionary state. Let it be so. Aho.